Countyfairgrounds and Cool K here. Do I have the infamous James Knight-Mentalist on the line with me?
Hey, Cool K. Yeah, how are you?
Oh, busy, normal. How are you?
Good. Thanks for letting me reschedule so many times. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's fine. So, tell me, you're a magician and a mentalist. And you know, one of the things I always find really interesting about this is how you guys got started. I mean, have you ever done anything else?
Yeah, I actually got started in magic and went over to mentalism. So when I was 6 years old, I was shown a card trick by my cousin, and I still know the card trick to this day. I went to school and I showed a little girl, her name was Kim, and she was so shocked she gave me a kiss on the cheek, and I swear that's the last time magic has got me anywhere with girls. But but one thing led to another, and in school I was the card trick guy. I was the guy who could do weird body things, take your thumb off, twist your arm around, crack your nose, all sorts of weird stuff like that. And as a middle child, it just gave me a lot of more attention, I think, that I wasn't getting at home or that I craved. And it kind of escalated after high school when David Blaine and Chris Angel really hit the scene and made it cool again to do magic tricks. And then I got into hypnosis and was a clinical hypnotist for about 10 years. And during that time, I was doing stage hypnosis. And stage hypnosis is great. It's just, for me, it just got the same 12 skits. I'd change them up every now and then, but it just wasn't super challenging, and it was okay. It was fun, but not as fun. I saw a mentalist perform. I thought, wow, I think I would love to have people think I can read their minds. And so I got into mentalism in about 2007, 2008, somewhere around there, and just went full head on ever since then. So now I don't really incorporate any magic into my presentations. It's all 100% mentalism. So that's my origin story in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, I've interviewed a lot of magicians, a lot of famous magicians, and not all of them turned into mentalists, James. It's a little bit different. So, where have you performed? I mean, have you been overseas?
I've been to London, England, member of the Magic Circle, which is a very prestigious magic community. I've performed basically all around the United States, all the way from Florida, Oklahoma, all over California. I perform at the Magic Castle 2 to 3 times a year in one of their theaters there, which is really kind of a highlight of my year, is to be there and performing there. But most of my work is corporate work and trade shows. So I do a lot of after people have been in sales training all day long, and they've been in 5 different lectures at 7 o'clock. They're eating, and it's my turn to give them that one last hour and send them home. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of public speaking and kind of keynote speaking on powers of the mind and sales motivation and stuff like that for corporate clients.
So you obviously have a degree, right?
In psychology, yeah.
All right.
And
well,
a minor in business ad.
And what? I'm sorry?
A minor in business admin.
Okay. Well, I haven't interviewed too many mentalists. I don't think there's too many of you walking around out there, are there?
There's quite a few now. It's just not as popular as, I think it's actually more popular once people see it. But some of the top names in magic are not mentalists. You don't really have a top guy out there there's no David Copperfield of mentalism. We do have, the Uri Gellers of the world and, some of those guys, Bob Cassidy, but they're not really household names. I think Uri Geller is probably the closest to a household name. And of course, the old guy, slips my mind, but he was a big influence too. I'll think of him in a minute there. But yeah, there's not a lot of us, that's for sure. Not a lot of great ones. I think it requires a really interesting personality, and I've seen a lot of mentalists that are almost like Cutco knife demonstrators that they're going through their lines. It's not really connecting with the audience, and it can be very boring. If you can really connect with the audience and show the process of how I'm reading your mind and connect with people, I think that's what really separates it and makes it special.
Yeah, though there's not too many of them out there. I haven't met too many of you. And I interview a lot of people, so if anybody would know, I would. So what was your first? Do you remember what your first show experiences was like with this?
Yeah, I was terrible. I was very egocentric. I thought it was all about me and, ooh, look what I can do, ta-da. I can, I have these mystical powers, and it really, I don't think was a connecting with the show. I think the first major show I did was at a theater in Modesto, California, probably back in 2008 or 2009, where it was the people that came up afterwards were like, wow, can you really read minds? And I realized then it was more about me and not about connecting with the audience. So I really tried to change my show over the years to be the audience is also the star, that we're all in this together, that really I don't have anything special other than developed what I can do, and everybody has the same abilities. We just haven't developed them yet. I think a great analogy is when you hear somebody play chopsticks on the piano and you hear someone play Beethoven on the piano. They're both playing the piano. It's just, and I think everybody can if you put in that time and dedication. So to me, that's, I think, what separates the great mentalists are the ones that are willing to connect with that audience and make them have a feeling inside rather than just, wow, I think the guy just read my mind.
So you do a stage show? Is that what this is?
Yeah, I do. I do stage and close-up and strolling mentalism. I do a lot of, I do table work at the Magic Castle in Hollywood. There's a palace table upstairs that people come and 5 people will sit around. You'll gather a crowd of 20 to 30 people, but usually it's just about 5 to 10 people in a very close-up, intimate situation, which I really, really love that connection that you can make because they know, nobody's in on it. They're just walking by, they sat down, and they get to see something amazing. And then about 80% of my work is on stage, doing large stage shows. I'm trying to use a lot of video, a lot of camera work to get it on the big screen so that people can see what's written on these pieces of paper or what's written on my chalkboard, that kind of thing.
So how long is a stage show usually?
30, 45, or 60 minutes. It's really up to what needs. I prefer the 45-minute show, but 60 minutes is a great show as well just because you really can, at the end of that, you've really bonded and connected with the people in your audience. I think that's so important.
So you have brothers and sisters?
I'm a middle child. There's 5 of us. And, so they all are, they have awesome lives. They're all very practical people. I'm kind of the one that just straight off, wanted to move to Hollywood or LA and do my thing. They're all awesome people, though. I think we all just had different levels of need for attention. So I always blame my performance career on being a middle child and being the one that, the youngest one got a lot of attention. The oldest one came first, got a lot of attention. But us in the middle there, they just checked to make sure we were alive. And, every now and then fed us. So I think that's had a lot to do with it.
So there's really not a school that teaches this, right?
All the best secrets are kept in books, and that goes especially true with mentalism. There's a couple books that we would consider the Bible in mentalism that are practical guides that will kind of lead you down the path. And once you start reading books, you'll find in those books other authors that are suggested, other books that they suggest, and it's just this rabbit hole of continually learning, continually growing, finding new books. And then every now and then new methods will come out. We're kind of in an electronic age right now, which is really interesting. I think eventually we're going to have to walk through metal detectors and come into your show almost completely naked to be credible. But the old school methods are just as good as the things new. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a mentalist as well, and he was lamenting that he was just at a close-up show. He did 3 things, all very analog, just paper and pencil, a book, and just was able to wow them just as much as somebody who may be investing thousands and thousands of dollars in other things. Not that we all just read minds, but there is a lot of method behind it.
Mhm. Okay, now you have my curiosity out of control. Did you have kids?
Yeah, I've got two, one girl and one boy, and I got a granddaughter on the way. In November, we're going to be grandparents, finally. My daughter's 29. She's got married about a year and a half ago. She's been with this guy for about 7 or 8 years, and we really wanted grandkids for a long time. So we sent her a lot of diagrams and videos over the last couple of years going, I'm sure you know how this works. We really need to get some kids here. And so I'm really excited to have a granddaughter on the way. She's moved down to the San Diego area, which is very close to where we are. And my son lives up in San Francisco, and he's a musician. He's kind of following the path of his dad. I was in a band for many years. I lived in Hawaii for about 14 years playing in a band, doing the musician thing. And I loved it, and it was a great part of my life. It's really what I did in my 20s. And he's kind of gone down that same path of being in the music scene in San Francisco and loving that kind of creative outlet. He's definitely more of the performer. My daughter's more the analytical side of it. But they're both beautiful, wonderful people. I'm very blessed. I think that's
okay.
My biggest accomplishment.
Okay, well, what's concerning me here, and I'm really curious about, you're a mentalist. How did that affect the kids growing up?
When my kids were about 3 till 11, I was like the superstar dad that was like, you got to see what my dad can do. And, kids would gather around. Once they both hit about 12, they were like, Dad, don't come into my room and show me anything with my friends around. Don't do, they were, I was super awesome and then super ashamed, I guess, no, we don't want to hear any of that. And then I think, when they both got into college, they both kind of came around. They were both, my son started listening to the same kind of music. I got into some of the same things that I had been into, and he's like, Dad, you're actually a pretty cool guy, So, forget the last 10 years. We'll start over. And I think that's just that natural teenage growing pains of trying to find out who you are. And I think at the end of the day, they realize that their parents are their best friends. Nobody has their back more than we do.
Yeah, well, not too many parents are mentalists, dear.
Yeah, well, they didn't get away with much,
Yeah.
It was easy to really tell who's fibbing, and they figured out pretty darn early that it's better to just tell them the truth because he's going to find out anyway. And I think having that honest relationship, and that's what I cherish most, is them being able to just tell us anything, good or bad. Because if I have the honest connection with them and honesty, then nothing really can't be fixed, right? It's when they're not honest with you that you feel like, what have I done wrong to make you not trust me that I'm going to help you fix this? Whatever it is, it can be fixed, unless you don't tell me what it is, and then we can't fix it.
Okay. All right. So how many, I've not really interviewed a mentalist before, although I think I may have a little bit. But how many of them are there out there, do you know, in the country?
Oh, there's probably a good 400 or 500 that are working.
Okay.
Yeah. There's probably about 10 that are really at the top of the field. In Vegas, you have Jerry McCambridge that's kind of, at the top of his game over there. You have Colin Cloud, who's just started a new Vegas show out there. He's one of the greatest mentalists of his generation for sure. So there's definitely probably 10 or 15 really top names out there. And I think it's slowly catching on. A lot of the times when I'm going to gigs now that are private parties where I can really interact with people after the show, I hear a lot of, this is the kind of magic I like. This is the kind of magic that intrigues me. Something that I thought about the other day, and I was talking to one of my friends about, is when you see a magician cut a lady in half, nobody's calling 911 in the building. Her feet are dangling over here, her legs are dangling, her arms are wiggling, and she cut in half, right? But
yep.
they kind of nobody's really concerned. I think mentalism, at the end of a show, people are like, maybe it is possible. Maybe those things that I've heard about, these kind of abilities really are possible, and it really gets them to kind of question their own belief system and own reality. And I think that's, to me, the power of it and the allure of it.
Hey, James, I know what you are. You're an AI.
Right. I think we're all AI, though, actually. I think we're all just living out a physical experience from being in the Matrix as AI, but that's a little bit deeper conversation.
Okay. Well, where would you like to perform? You haven't had a chance.
I'd like to. I've been offered a residency in a place. I have a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't really talk about it. But in Vegas next year, I'm hoping to get a residency. I'm on the short list. It looks like it's pretty promising. Been going through talks. They have some construction to do and some modifications to do. So that, to me, is kind of the ultimate goal, is to have 5-6 nights a week that I'm performing in one spot. I'm not doing as much traveling. Over the last 20 years, I put a lot of miles on flights and cars. A lot of windshield time, and it would be nice to just have a home for a while where people come to me and do that. It's everybody's dream, I think, and it's a difficult dream to achieve, but that's where it's going, I'm hoping.
And your wife puts up with this, right?
Yeah, she hasn't been to a show in years. But yeah, she's my guinea pig. I think all magician wives get to see the first round of everything, and most of my stuff is pretty much bulletproof, because if I run it by her, she knows a lot of technique and a lot of what I'm trying to do, and she'll immediately poke all the holes in it. And if I can fool her, I can fool anybody. So she does have a pretty prominent role in my career, but that's pretty much where it ends. I think she gets really frustrated when she sees audience members going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you got that." And she's like, "He's doing this." He's just doing that. It's hard for her to just sit there and let it happen. So.
Yeah, that's cute. Okay, so there's really no place that teaches this. So you kind of got it from books?
You get it from books. Now, in the last 5 or 6 years, there's been an explosion of Facebook groups and online forums that really, I'm a member of the PEA, which is the Psychic Entertainers Association, and we have forums on there that we can communicate and talk with each other. So it's really a group that kind of self-taught, and with a mixture of getting a good mentor. A lot of people will, find somebody that they really enjoy their style, and it's a tight enough community where you can reach out to almost any popular mentalist out there, and they will, for a price, they'll mentor you, they'll take you under their wing and do that sort of thing, and that's always helpful. But yeah, there's no real mentalism school. At the Magic Castle, they do offer classes on mentalism, so you can get an intro level, exposure to it. But to get deep into it, to really be, a proficient mentalist, it's really stage time. It's really getting out there and doing it over and over and over to find out what's working, what's not working, and your personality matters so much. People really, you have about that 15 seconds when you first meet someone to make that impression on them, and whether it's going to be successful or not. There's a lot of people skills that go into mentalism that you can't read in a book. You really have to learn by doing it over and over and over, and judging people's reactions and body language, and there's so many things. But looking at where their feet are, where their hands are, what poises they have. Your brain naturally is giving you a lot of signals about communication. Most communication is nonverbal. It's interesting that the words that you say are powerful, but it's how you say them. And so it's really just honing your craft by doing it over and over and over. And if you have a good mentor, and the brutal thing is videotaping yourself, or putting up your iPhone and hitting record, And then going back and watching that over and over, that teaches you more than anything else, because, you know, if you get a good joke in there, you can remember it, you can write it down. If something fell flat, you can really analyze it and see what was it that I said or didn't say that made this outcome happen. Because so much of what we do is verbal control, you know, verbal commands that if it's not...
It's psychology.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, 100%. It does get back to a lot of that, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, have you ever had any experiences that made you rethink doing this?
I've had things that have really shaped the path that I've been down. I mean, I had someone come up after a show one time early on in my career, and ask about, hey, my cousin is missing. Can you help find him? You know, and I wish to this day, this is probably 20 years ago, I would have said what I said now. What I say now is, oh, I'm so flattered that you think I really have these abilities. That's the biggest compliment you could ever give me. But, you know, haha, gotcha. And back then I wasn't wise enough to say that. And so that really made me rethink the impact that I have on people and the impact that a really good show will do for someone. So I've had some experiences that made me kind of choose what kind of mentalist I would be. I mean, there's people out there that are, you know, have a turban on, a Swami hat, and are reading palms and fortune tellers and communicating with the dead. And, you know, I would say if you could communicate with the dead, there would be no unsolved murders, you know. But people still are going down that path and still listening to them. And so there's a lot of responsibility to it. So the things that have made me rethink it are the things that when people really are in need or in suffering or in pain, not ever taking any kind of advantage of them, and just almost reassuring them that, you know, that there are people out there that will take advantage of you, and to be very careful.
Yeah. No, yes, I know. And do you know who Michael Mesmer is? Because he interviews ghosts. Okay.
Yeah, I know Michael Mesmer. I'd love to take him to a barber and get him a haircut, but he's a great guy. I've been in the same circles with him for a while.
Okay.
He's down in Southern California.
All right. Who does your booking?
You know, my wife handles a lot of my bookings. I have a couple agencies that I go through for trade shows. I work for a company called Engageify, which is an amazing company. So they'll do a lot of those kind of bookings. And then, of course, all the gig sites that are out there, you got to subscribe to those kind of things and be picky with what, a lot of times it's a race to the bottom on price. But sometimes, you know, there's gold to be found in there. They've definitely paid for themselves 10 times over. And then I do a lot of Google marketing. I just invested quite a bit in my website to get some SEO help from an expert. So I try and let the people who know what they're doing handle that kind of thing. But most of my bookings come through people who have already seen me. And I think it's a snowball effect. People don't really realize they need a mentalist until they're in the show going, this would be awesome at my company, or this would be great at this trade show, or this would really be a cool sales thing to do. And, you know, you exchange business cards at the end of a show. So most of my work is just by referral and people who have seen me. I'd say that's about 70% of it. The other 30% is all the other lead sources that we all subscribe to.
Okay. So how many years you've been doing this, and how many years you're going to do it?
You know, 2007 is really the year I kind of went pro and went, okay, I'm going to make a living doing this. You know, then of course 2020 and 21 and most of half of 22, we were like, okay, I might have to get a real job and get skills out there. That was scary. So it's interesting because I love to do this. I'd love to be the little old man that, you know, that they bring to the event and still working. I hope somebody's wise enough to tell me you're too old to do this, because I love it so much that I would probably do it till the day I died. I can't see doing anything else. But having that little scare in 2020 made me realize, you should diversify a little bit. So I have other hobbies and interests that I think aren't going to make the income that I make now, but at least I wouldn't have to get a 9-to-5 type position. So that's kind of always on the back burner of what other income sources can I have.
Hey, James, I couldn't
Yeah.
see you in a 9-to-5 position. Sorry.
Thank you. I can't. It's tough. It's really tough. What? We got to do this for 8 hours every day? Tomorrow too?
Okay, well, I have your website, and there's a phone number on it, so I guess people can call that phone number for booking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a contact form on there as well, and I always tell people go read my reviews and ratings. I think that's the most pride I have in that is that I'm all 5-star reviews, knock on wood, and I offer 100% money back guarantee if you're not absolutely blown away and having a great time. No charge. It's on me. And 18 years I've never had to do that. So, if you want to get a hold of me, my website, mentalistjames.com.
Well, I've enjoyed talking to you. We'll get this up, and hopefully you'll get some bookings from it.
Oh, thanks, Kay. You were super sweet. I'm really nice. Really glad to talk and connect with you.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.